necessarily reflect that of this station or its ownership.
We're on the Revelators, 1590 WCGO. I'm with my co-host, my friend. My name is Pat Gibbons. My co-host, Mr. Severino, Joe Severino. What do you hear? What do you say?
Hey, great to be back.
Great.
We have an exciting show today. We have Darren Bailey joining us from Southern Illinois, running for Congress. Not only am I a big fan of him as a gubernatorial candidate, I'm a fan of him as a congressman, and we're looking forward to hearing a lot from Darren today on the show.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey, for coming on the show. This is awesome.
Well, it's an honor. It really is. We haven't been back up in the northern part of the state and in the Chicago area for quite some time, so I miss my friends up there. So miss you guys. Mm-hmm. In time, we'll be back up, but we've got to fight down here, and just met a lot of wonderful people on the trail. So thank you.
It's great. And you're running for Congress, right, Mr. Bailey?
That is correct. The 12th District, the southern third of Illinois. If you take I-70, it's pretty well everything south of I-70, and a very large district, a very conservative district.
That's
wonderful.
Good. That's good.
And Darren, why don't you tell the listeners what was the why did you decide to primary Republican, a sitting Republican?
You know, ever since 2017. When I figured out that my state representative was voting for a 32% tax increase, I started sharing that information. I was uneducated on government, especially Illinois government, because I didn't really care. You know, we associate with politics with dirt and junk, and we're best with that out of our lives. And we just want to go about our everyday business, raising our family, working, enjoying life. But at some point in time, we've got to get involved. So that's what happened in 2017. Threw my hat in the ring, and I primaried a conservative then. People didn't know that this person was voting for tax increases. I exposed that. I won that race 60-40. My state senator stepped down. I thought I'd term limit myself to 10 years as a state representative. Loved it, started making noise immediately during those first 2 years. I sued J.B. Pritzker, got kicked out of the General Assembly for the mask mandate. I was standing up for the people. My state senator stepped down, and I started looking for someone to take his place. And then the other half of the senatorial district, they loved what I was doing. They came to me and wanted me to be their senator. So my
Good
family,
choice.
my wife. Well, thank you. We prayed, we fasted. Is this where we belong? Is this our mission field? And so we decided it was. The establishment put someone up against me. We won that race by 93%, taking 93% in the primary. And I was going to term limit myself in the Senate. I actually loved serving as a state senator. Absolutely loved it. By that time, our voice had reached all over Illinois. And then the governor's race came up.
Right.
What do you do? Do I stay in the Senate? Do I run for governor? And we let that voice out to the people, and the people were behind us. They wanted us to serve and run as governor. And so anyway, that didn't turn out how we wanted it to. So here we are. I have options. Do I go back to the farm? Bailey Family Farm is well managed by my three sons, Zach, Cole, and Mason. I've been back helping them a lot this year, but I find myself, you know how the dad is sometimes. I see things the way I did it versus the way they're doing it, and
they usually do it better.
They're doing a very good job. Had the opportunity to be a spokesperson for pro-life groups, pro-Second Amendment groups, but Cindy and I realized that if we don't get government fixed, we're not going to, we're not going to accomplish anything in and of by ourselves with that. So again, we turned this over to the Lord in prayer and fasting. We went to our friends, and we're not satisfied with the work that my congressman's doing. He's been a state representative in the state of Illinois for 20 years, and this is his fifth term as a congressman. And I think Southern Illinois deserves better. So we decided to take the voice, take this fight to D.C. Got an amazing platform. By the grace of God, we'll have a President Trump or a conservative in office as president. We'll keep the House Hopefully we'll gain the Senate and we can go to work and get things done. And that's what I'm looking forward to. I'm very proud of what I've been able to do, the noise and the movement and the grassroots movement that you and many others have been a part of, over the last few years here in Illinois.
Sure.
Take that movement to D.C. and be a spokesperson and a mouthpiece for the entire state to shine the light back on Illinois so that we can begin electing true conservatives here.
That's a great message, Darren. And, part of my platform is we want to bring the community voice to Washington. All too often, it's the Washington voice coming back to the communities, and I believe that's why we're suffering. And let me ask you this, Darren. What is it about being a conservative? You're a very reasonable guy out there on the campaign trail. A lot of people had the wrong idea of who you are. And why is there such a barrier with conservatism to reach the public? In your eye, what is it that's so adversarial about having faith or loving life? What do you say?
Well, it's the Republican platform first and foremost. I ask anyone, go to Illinois Family Institute or Illinois Family Action. David Smith does an amazing job there. And actually, everyone running for office, every church out there needs to get hold of his pamphlet of comparing the two parties. And there's it's black and white. It's what's written. It's the platform. The Democrats have a platform. The Republican has a platform. And it states who we are, which is what you just described. I think we're fighting a Marxist mentality today. Thomas Jefferson said when he was president, when Americans figure out that they can vote themselves entitlements, the democracy will fail. And I think that's what we're dealing with today. We're dealing with people who want their hand out, and we've got politicians who will happily fill those hands so that they can stay in office longer. That's what we're fighting. The greatest generation came back from World War II. They saw the results of communism. They came back, and during the 50s and the 60s, they were adamantly opposed to make sure communism never took root here in Illinois. Well, unfortunately, and across this nation, and unfortunately it did. And unfortunately, that's what we're fighting today. And if we don't snuff this out, we're going to be a nation gone under far too soon. So that's the message. That's the conservative. So you've got this money, this power that wants to push us out of the way, snuff us out, and that's why I believe we're having such distress, especially here in Illinois, with a conservative message.
Do you believe that the biggest distraction to our success is the establishment party and the rhinos, as they're called? To me, it seems like there's a three-tiered political system here that people aren't aware of, and it makes it more difficult and challenging for individuals that truly have a heart for community to run, because they're creating more barriers, and it's basically the establishment that's doing so. Do you see it that way?
Well, the establishment did me a lot of harm and damage. The establishment never got behind me as the governor candidate. That's no one can argue that. They never did. They're going back to the same old thing that they got behind before. The reality is the hope lies with the people. Again, Joe, we knew that if 60% of registered voters, there's people who are old enough and eligible to vote, only 70% of those are registered, pretty well all across the nation. All we needed was 60% of all voters, because there are more people even in the state of Illinois that think like this conversation we're having than people realize. They're there. We knew that. All we needed was a turnout. Of all years, we thought we'd have the turnout last year, but they didn't show up. When AP called the race at 6:59, they already knew. When we called them up and asked them, we know you didn't do any of these exit polls. Where are you getting your information from? They said, no, it's a low voter turnout. Mm-hmm. And we don't believe that your people showed up. And as a matter of fact, there were 800,000 mail-in ballots cast. J.B. Pritzker spent $35 million, and he received 650,000 mail-in ballots out of the 800,000. They said mathematically there's no way you can overcome that. So we found that out to be accurate. The majority of conservative-minded friends are not voting. That's the answer. We step up and run this fall. Go to your county clerk's office. Run for a precinct committeeman, alderman. Get involved. and let your voice be heard. That's how we change things and turn it around, especially for our party.
Mr. Bailey, you're right. There is two sides. There is good versus evil. It's just plain and simple. The left is for killing babies, raising taxes, and defunding the police. In the police stations in Chicago, Illinois, you have illegals spread out on the floors like it's a YMCA. It's nuts. It's out of hand. And this governor, he has now allowed non-citizens to arrest citizens. Non-citizens can become police officers. It's crazy. And he wants to change the Illinois flag because state sovereignty and national union is offensive. The left baffles me. They're so left, they're out of the ballpark. I hope one day there is a Republican governor. I hope one day this state becomes red. Do you see that happening for us in the future?
I do. If I didn't, I would slide off to Florida or do something else. I think by 2030, 2034, that's going to be my fight, is to open up the door for a Republican, true conservative, to take statewide seats in Illinois. I certainly believe that, but we have got to empower the people. I thought we were there, but the election showed that we weren't. You know, one of our biggest problem is with some of our elected officials, and again, this is why I am running for Congress here in the 12th Congressional District, is because you hear this word compromise. You hear that, Bailey and some of the conservatives, they didn't pass a lot of bills. You know, they should get more done. No, many times conservatives just need to say no. Our elected officials don't go to Springfield. They don't go to D.C. to pass more laws. They go there to represent we the people. And we the people want less laws. We the people want less government. We the people want true representation. I just had a friend call me today needing some help with DCFS and up in your area, and they can't get their representative or senator to respond. And I said, well, you need to go camp out in their office because that is their job to help you through this mess. The bill that is going to allow non-citizens to serve as police officers. There were only 7 members in the House. Now, by the time it got to the Senate, the flag had been raised, and thank goodness Republican senators did not vote for that. But all Republican House members except 7 in the Illinois Freedom Caucus, of which that's the group that I came from, voted against it. Mm-hmm. There is no way to explain this. Mm-hmm. To compromise, that any argument you hear is absolutely wrong.
Right.
That should have been a dead issue from the beginning.
Darren, I've been saying from the beginning, authentic leadership starts with drawing a line in the sand and showing that you would be unwavering. A politician or any leader can't go out there bending a knee to the will and whim of every voter or let's say those who they might lead. The reality is we have too many weak individuals that are in leadership positions that, you can't become a leader through a textbook. You have to have that the experience to get out there and actually lead. What do you say about that in our Republican Party today?
I think I'm proof of that. You don't have to burn the house down. You don't have to make enemies with everyone. You simply have to stand for the truth. I think that's what that was the biggest avenue for us being able to run for governor, is that once people, and they were watching me, 2019, I was the voice standing up and doing these Facebook Lives for against the gas tax increase. I can go on and on and on. I was educating people because I realized I myself wasn't totally aware of what my elected officials right here in Conservativeville, USA were doing, and They were compromising their values. So when I sued J.B. Pitzer, when I got kicked out of the session for the mask mandate, people saw hope. They saw, wow, this farmer from Southern Illinois, you can stand up and do something. And you can do that peaceably and hopefully inspire others to come alongside you.
Right, and we'll talk more about that back in a few with Mr. Darren Bailey on WCGO.
Producing your own podcast can be frustrating.
Test 1, 2.
Which is why I'm glad to be introducing the brand new multi-format network. We offer digital media, podcasting, and radio broadcasting professional standard production and syndication. Whether you're looking to bolster and polish your business presentations for a Zoom interview, host your podcast, or push your nationally syndicated radio broadcast to a satellite, we can facilitate your every need. So when you're ready to look, sound, and be professional, don't just try to do it yourself. Contact the professionals at the new multi-format network, the Multi-Format Network. From professional syndication to personal vindication, we've got your back. Shoot us an email, mfngeneralmanager@gmail.com. mfngeneralmanager@gmail.com.
It is estimated that 1.5 million people are arrested for DUI every year in the United States. In Illinois alone, over 30,000 motorists are arrested for DUI. Driving under the influence of alcohol, marijuana, or drugs is one of the most complex of traffic charges on the books. Most people do not understand the complexities of the standardized field sobriety tests, which are horizontal gaze nystagmus, the walk and turn, and the one-leg stand test. Due to improper testing procedures, many people are wrongfully charged with DUI. Whether you have been charged with a DUI or an attorney handling DUI cases, the book DUIs Decoded explains the proper procedures for standardized field sobriety testing, breathalyzer testing, and the penalties in Illinois for driving under the influence.
Real estate, be it residential or commercial, is often a person's most significant and priciest asset. Entering into a contract to buy or sell a real estate property is much more than just filling in the missing blanks on the printed contract. It's wise to hire a lawyer to prepare or review the offer to purchase real estate and take full advantage of his legal expertise. With Mark Sheblow, you will gain an attorney with over 26 years of legal practice and one who has helped thousands of clients to buy or sell their homes or investment property. We will safeguard your interests and might be able to even negotiate a better bargain than a client without proper legal counsel ever could. Oftentimes, a prospective buyer will submit an offer without first consulting an attorney, not realizing that once the offer is accepted by the seller, it becomes a binding contract, and the terms of that contract are not easy to be changed afterwards. Likewise, as a seller, you too will benefit from first consulting an attorney before signing. Feel free to call us for consultation at the law offices of Mark Sheblow at 773-775-5050. Our website is sheblowlawoffice.com. Mark Sheblow can be reached 6 days a week at 773-775-5050, Monday through Saturday, located at 5945 North Elston Avenue in Chicago. That's attorney Mark Sheblow, 773-775-5050.
The Revelators, 1590 AM or on WCGO 95.9 FM with Mr. Darren Bailey.
Great to have you, Darren. We're going to take a call. Who do we have on the line?
Well, before we do a call, I have to make an announcement. If you're listening to this show, you have probably thought about running for office. In 2024, many offices will be on the ballot, including state representative, state senator, and Republican ward committeeman. Because incumbents have rigged the system so they can run unopposed, there are many traps that can get candidates kicked off the ballot. To protect yourself, call attorney Perry Abbasi at Chicago Law, LLC. He will prepare your petitions, explain your signature requirement, and make sure you have the correct statement of candidacy and economic interests. He can also defend you before the Board of Elections if your petitions get challenged. Chicago Law, LLC can be reached by calling 773-368-5423 or emailing chicagolaw@yahoo.com. Call soon because the first day to gather signatures for 2024 is September the 5th. What's our phone call? Oh, we got to call it?
Lawrence.
Oh, all right, Lawrence. Yeah. You're on. What do you hear? What do you say, Lawrence?
Hey, Lawrence.
Hey, how are you? Thanks for everybody for doing what you're doing. Thanks for looking out for the future for our kids. But, Illinois is a political mess. It's got a corrupt culture, and the conservatives are just not united. There's a lot of backstabbing going on, and I just wish Darren Bailey, a good man as he is, would look at the big picture, not look at the, easy picture. And we have a U.S. Senator right now that's a do-nothing Dick Durbin. He's frail, and Darren Bailey just got off a statewide election. Mm-hmm. he was a perfect fit to, go after a person that really needs to be removed from office, not go after a candidate.
Well, you know what it is?
Party.
When you talk about a political system, the reality is this, Lawrence. We're fighting a 3-tier political system. It's not 2. And, unless you actually run and have skin in the game, and I understand you have a wide lens relating to politics, but the reality is you don't know how detrimental some of our party are. So when you say it's not united, it's not that the conservatives aren't united. There's too many interlopers, malfeasance, profiteers that are getting involved with our success. So you can't look through the lens of, this individual primarying they're actually trying to get somebody to primary me right now. They have a radical rhino that they want to primary me in the 10th district, the establishment.
Mm-hmm. Cook County GOP is trying to get someone against
and the Cook County, the second one. So what they're doing is, if you have a voice, the snakes come out. If you want to represent conservative, authentic Republican value, the snakes come out. So don't look at the individual. Look at the corruption behind the scenes that's preventing. He should have been successful. If they would have got behind him, we might have had him in a governor's seat rather than worrying about where he's running now. So that's my view. Pat?
I agree 100%. What we need to do is wake up the silent majority. It's like what Mr. Bailey said earlier. There's too many people sitting on the couch complaining and not going out there to vote. It's just plain and simple. We had a low voting turnout when it came to conservatives voting. And Lawrence, we thank you for the call, and enjoy the rest of the show.
And if I may, Pat.
Yeah.
So, Darren, you talked a little bit about 600,000 votes. I don't know if you're aware, but in our 10th district race, we had a statistician, mathematician do a forensic analysis of our race, every single vote that came in, same day, late vote, mail-in vote, etc. The reality is 99% of them went to Brad Schneider. That's statistically impossible. Every one of our precincts were undervoted. Again, this is, this is an indication that there's, something flawed in cheating, etc. So do you think it's we didn't have the Republican turnout, or do you think there were, mechanisms in place or independent factors that might have led to more of a deficit in the voting?
Well, let me back up real quick to Lawrence's comment, and I really appreciate his confidence in me. But I'm going to tell you something. Jumping to even from the state governor's race to a federal race, you have the entire nation throwing money behind candidates, because it's not just here in Illinois. Now you've got the nation that always wants to keep a yes man, and people sometimes in the district who have confidence in me, and I love them to death. Why don't you take on Dick Durbin? Well, I'll tell you what. Person I'm running against, he's been in office for 10 years and he's got money, $1 million in his account. Why doesn't he take him on? It is extremely difficult, especially in Illinois, to take one of those positions. We have got, and that's why I want to, create a beachhead where I know that we can have a voice. That's why we're doing what we're doing. But thank you for your confidence in me. To your question, I've got to see more than 50% of voters turn out before I can. Yes, there's fraud. Yes, there's problems. I have stood on the House floor in Illinois. I've stood on the Senate floor and railed for, voter ID, railed against many reforms, only to be chastised by the other side of the aisle that's your neighbors up there that will tell me,
unfortunately,
what's wrong with you? There's always been fraud. There's always been cheating. Get over it. Well, that ought not be, and it's a shame that it's that way. So, but I know there are problems. Carol Davis with the Illinois Conservative Union does an amazing job. Sure. And as a matter of fact, in the days ahead, I had a gentleman right here in my home, in my office 2 weeks ago, who came, and many people have heard of cast vote balloting. Over in one of the counties in the Metro East, there were 250,000 votes cast. And recently, almost accidentally, they have discovered that almost 10% of them, a little over 20,000, we're not properly recorded. We're not certified. So that's just in a metric. Think about what Cook County looks like. And this person was trying to get this information. They landed upon it really, literally, accidentally, came through a third party. So I think that we finally have something. We have something to look at. We've been trying to get this for years. And I think you're going to be hearing more about that in the coming days. Unfortunately, it takes time. But yes, there is fraud. There are serious problems, but I contend that if we have the majority of the people showing up to vote, serving as election judges, serving as poll watchers, serving as precinct committee people, that's the easy way to win. And then we elect conservatives and we change these laws and get everything back under control. Until then, we're going to have a difficult time finding the truth.
Mr. Bailey, we should just get rid of those machines. The Dominion machine is corrupt. Go to paper ballots. 930,000 votes all of a sudden was dumped to Tammy Duckworth in 1 minute at 22:40 on Election Day. 930,000 votes in 1 minute. And then it disappears. I mean, you see that all the time, and people don't blink an eye. People don't notice that. I notice stuff like that. There's corruption all the time. You've been hearing dead people vote for years. That really happens. My grandfather voted for Old Man Daley, and he was dead for 8 years. I kid you not. So it's across the board, and there needs to be a better system, I feel. Maybe go back to paper ballots.
Sure. And people have to realize, we need inspirational candidates. I like to consider myself one. I absolutely believe you're one. We need people that can kind of re-engage our Republican Party and let them show that if you stand for something, it can mean something later. It seems that voter fatigue, donor fatigue, there are things that are occurring because they don't have trust in what our party's doing. How do we rebound from this? We do have an opportunity. Florida a few years ago. Look at Miami. It was turned around by Trump. When smart people get the message, they look at things rationally. How do we reach them, Darren?
Well, that's awesome. We've got to, I've got a good friend, Joe Terrio, who's the clerk in McHenry
Joe's
County.
A great guy.
And yeah, he is. He got elected, I think, as recorder, and then he did away with his job, and then turned around and ran for clerk. And he is really doing some amazing things with protecting the ballots in McHenry County. I carried the bill all 4 years as state senator or state rep and state senator to go back to paper ballots. And I was chastised for that. And I'm one of these people. Whatever the cost is, we have got to protect the integrity of our elections. And but in the meantime, we get behind, we support our candidates, and then the election's over. And maybe even when they win, we walk away and we don't pay attention to what they do in Springfield and D.C. at the county level or whatever. We walk away, and then we wake up 10 years later and think, "Whoa, wait a minute, what happened? This is not what you talked about." If they lose, we've got the people that you talk about. I myself with the governor's race, that people walk away and then we forget. Life gets in the way. We've got to get behind our candidates. I need help. You need help. We need money so that we can get our message out. And that's what makes me so sick about this process is the money that it takes, because you're sitting here, someone like myself, and you were fighting for the family, for small business, and this overburden of taxation and regulation that they have. And then you got to go out and ask people for support, however that comes. But find these candidates, stick with them, support them, encourage them, stay right with them. When they are elected, stay right there with them and watch their vote. Stay engaged in the process. That's how we turn this around. And it's kind of like turning the Titanic around in the ocean.
It's difficult. And you bring up a good point. It's actually, what the public doesn't really see as well as we see it. And Pat is running for the 31st Ward. So we all have a political, lens here. The reality, Darren, is they don't realize that a lot of it's these consultants. They want to churn candidates. An educated candidate is the worst thing for the establishment and the consultants because they know better. And so what they want to do is, they're not necessarily interested in the successes. They're interested in ringing the register as it goes along. And I think somehow we have to harness all the information of who are the successes and who are the losers as far as consultants. If we can start weeding them out and the profiteers and unite as far as, like the Democrats, The Democrats, they have it down. They get behind their candidates. They push them forward. They won't waver. Look at the way they're propping up Joe Biden right now. The reality is, we don't, literally, we don't have that. What's your advice relating to that?
Well, that's true. I love right at the beginning of the show, you gave an advertisement for an attorney who wants to help people. There are places we've got to have help, and there was an amazing amount of good candidates that were kicked out of the system because they had some little error with their petition ballots. Which I understand that rules are rules, laws are laws. I get that, but. I didn't have I know, like I said, I know it's different up in your area versus Southern Illinois. There is a difference. I didn't have any consultants. I had some friends who knew and could help me through the process that I put on board as consultants. I never had any professional consultants per se until I ran for governor. I just knew I had this. Can you imagine what our founding fathers must have thought 250 years ago when they stood up against the greatest army on the face of the nation to create a new nation? And that's kind of how I've been, as running for state rep, running for Senate. I'm just like, I had this passion. I self-invested myself as much as I could, and I got out there and I fought, and I spoke for the people. And I think that if we have more candidates like that people understand where their passion is coming from, then people will get behind of them. Then you'll find people who are gifted at messaging and helping you raise money and so on. So be careful. That is one of the things to watch out for. You sign up for election in Maine, you start getting emails and letters from all these professional consultants. So we need to be careful with that.
Okay, sure. we have a caller, but before we get to the caller, if you're listening to this show, you have probably thought about running for office. In 2024, many offices will be on the ballot, including state representative, state senator, and Republican ward committeeman. Because incumbents have rigged the system so they can run unopposed, there are many traps that can kick candidates off the ballot. To protect yourself, call attorney Perry Abbasi at Chicago Law LLC. He will prepare your petitions, explain your signature requirement, and make sure you have the correct statement of candidacy and economic interests. He also can defend you before the Board of Elections if your petitions get challenged. Chicago Law LLC can be reached by calling 773-368-5423 or emailing chicagolaw@yahoo.com. Call soon because the first date to gather signatures is September 5th, 2024. And we have a caller, Jim from South Elgin. Jim, go ahead.
Well, I'm just tuning in to hear the clarion voice of Darren Bailey. It's unfortunate that he's not the governor because the way things are done in Illinois right now, we're going off a deep cliff. Darren correctly predicted that if he wasn't elected, a lot of companies were going to move and leave. For example, Gary Rabine is no longer a resident of Illinois. He's down in Florida.
What happened to Caterpillar? It followed Gary, or maybe Gary followed Caterpillar.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate, because Illinois, with all of its geographic advantages, its location, the natural resources we have, we should be the number one state. I tell people, if we want to fix Illinois' problems, we should take a political umbilical cord from Austin, Texas, plug it in Springfield, send the Springfield people home for a while. Because if we ran states, things like we did in Texas or Indiana, for example, we would be so much better off than what's going on today.
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
He brings up a great point, Darren. The reality is it's very hostile for the, let's say, the mom and pop or the small businessmen to do business in Illinois. What they want the big box stores, they want the big corporations, they want these monopolies that if they had to one day, maybe they put them under federal receivership and they'll really toe a line and do exactly what they want. We have investors dictating what the company messaging should be. It's an adversarial environment. How do we muck through it?
Well, that's not what built this country, and that's certainly what's going to destroy this country if we continue. But again, when we talk about convenience, we the people have to get involved in this process. We the people have got to stop shopping at some of these box stores and start supporting local business. It really is up to us. But, our state government certainly doesn't help that any at all. J.B. Pritzker's, he's destroying family life as we know it here in Illinois. He's destroying small business. He's destroying our schools and education. But again, I still lay a lot of responsibility on where I choose to go shop, who I choose to support. And I think that if we take that seriously, it cost a little more. I understand all of the arguments, but as to Jim's point, when we see the alternative, and we want what we know we want, we're going to have to make some sacrifices somewhere and step up and stand for small business, because I do not like the way that J.B. Pritzker and the Democrats are taking this state. I do not like the way that our future is looking here in this nation, and that is exactly what I'm going to stand up and stand against, in D.C., just exactly like I did for the last 4 years in Springfield.
And you're correct, Mr. Bailey. Pritzker is an absolute disaster. And you look at the Chicago public schools, you look at the Pritzker schools in particular, they're passing out sex toys to little kids. It's disgusting what's going on.
Oh, gosh. I who would have ever fathomed that, the rapidness of destruction. Again, I want to toss out a book that I don't know how many people are aware of, but it's called Rules for Radicals by Saul Alinsky. And you can read it and get it read in a couple of hours. This book was, again, it's the mindset of Marxism, written out of the 60s. Saul Alinsky was a professor at Chicago University. You open the book up, it is dedicated to Lucifer. Two of his students write a foreword in some of the latest editions of it, that being Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. And when you read this, you see this play back to what we were talking about earlier with our veterans coming back from war and World War II, worried about communism. You see this slow death that's been taking place.
Wow. And that being said, we'll come back on WCGO on the Revelators.
Producing your own podcast can be frustrating.
Test 1, 2.
Which is why I'm glad to be introducing the brand new multi-format network. We offer digital media, podcasting, and radio broadcasting professional standard production and syndication. Whether you're looking to bolster and polish your business presentations for a Zoom interview, host your podcast, or push your nationally syndicated radio broadcast to a satellite, we can facilitate your every need. So when you're ready to look, sound, and be professional, don't just try to do it yourself. Contact the professionals at the new multi-format network, the Multi-Format Network. From professional syndication to personal vindication, we've got your back. Shoot us an email, mfngeneralmanager@gmail.com. mfngeneralmanager@gmail.com.
It is estimated that 1.5 million people are arrested for DUI every year in the United States. In Illinois alone, over 30,000 motorists are arrested for DUI. Driving under the influence of alcohol, marijuana, or drugs is one of the most complex of traffic charges on the books. Most people do not understand the complexities of the standardized field sobriety tests, which are horizontal gaze nystagmus, the walk and turn, and the one-leg stand test. Due to improper testing procedures, many people are wrongfully charged with DUI. Whether you have been charged with a DUI or an attorney handling DUI cases, the book DUIs Decoded explains the proper procedures for standardized field sobriety testing, breathalyzer testing, and the penalties in Illinois for driving under the influence.
Real estate, be it residential or commercial, is often a person's most significant and priciest asset. Entering into a contract to buy or sell a real estate property is much more than just filling in the missing blanks on the printed contract. It's wise to hire a lawyer to prepare or review the offer to purchase real estate and take full advantage of his legal expertise. With Mark Sheblow, you will gain an attorney with over 26 years of legal practice and one who has helped thousands of clients to buy or sell their homes or investment property. We will safeguard your interests and might be able to even negotiate a better bargain than a client without proper legal counsel ever could. Oftentimes, a prospective buyer will submit an offer without first consulting an attorney, not realizing that once the offer is accepted by the seller, it becomes a binding contract, and the terms of that contract are not easy to be changed afterwards. Likewise, as a seller, you too will benefit from first consulting an attorney before before signing. Feel free to call us for consultation at the law offices of Mark Sheblo at 773-775-5050. Our website is sheblolawoffice.com. Mark Sheblo can be reached 6 days a week at 773-775-5050, Monday through Saturday, located at 5945 North Elston Avenue in Chicago. That's attorney Mark Sheblo, 773-775-5050.
Welcome back to the Revelators show with Joe Severino and Pat Gibbons. We're fortunate to be joined by Darren Bailey, running for Congress. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the greatest election attorney in our area?
Why not? One more time, shall we? If you're listening to this show, you have probably thought about running for office. In 2024, many offices will be on the ballot, including state representative, state senator, and Republican ward committeeman. Because incumbents have rigged the systems so they can run unopposed, there are many traps that can get candidates kicked off the ballot. To protect yourself, call attorney Perry Abbasi at Chicago Law LLC. He will prepare your petitions, explain your signature requirement, and make sure you have the correct statement of candidacy and economic interests. He can also defend you before the Board of Elections if your petitions get challenged. Chicago Law LLC can be reached by calling 773-368-5423 or emailing chicagolaw@yahoo.com. Call soon because the first day to gather signatures for 2024 is September the 5th. All right. Mr. Bailey, back to Chicago Public Schools. Chicago Public Schools is a disaster. Fourth grade reading level at seniors across the board. If, let's say, a student, and this was during COVID and still going on, logs in once, I kid you not, logs in once during a semester, they receive half a credit. They don't have to come again. Just log in once. There's a huge grade curve. They don't have to do work for the whole entire semester, and they get 50%. But if they do a project that last week, they get 60% and they pass with a D. The books are, I'm telling you, the books are rigged. They say students are there 5 days a week. They're not. They're there 2 days a week so they can get money from, the state. It's awful. The Chicago Public Schools is a disaster. What do you think? Should we just get rid of Chicago Public Schools and go with charter schools and homeschooling? What do you think, Mr. Bailey?
Well, the sad part of it is public education is failing miserably across the state. And I put this at the feet of the Illinois Education Association, the teachers unions. There's a funding mechanism they have. It's called the IPACE, IPACE. I'm going to throw out a few websites here. Go to illinoissunshine.org. You can type in your legislator, and you can follow the money. You can see where these people have been receiving their funds at. So when you wonder why your elected official is being quiet about the failings of public education, it's probably because they've been bought and paid for by the Illinois Teachers Union. Interestingly enough, the Illinois Teachers Union has paired up with Planned Parenthood. They were the two chief sponsors for the egregious Senate Bill 818, the sex education that's invaded our classrooms. Wow. They are behind, these multi-gender bathrooms. They're behind putting tampons in boys' restrooms. I mean, I can't imagine what the next 3 years under J.B. Pritzker is going to look like. I want to throw out two more websites. Well, three more. Wirepoints.org. Every morning you'll get an update, and they direct you and tell you, keep you updated what's going on. Ted Dabrowski does an amazing job many times with education issues. And then again, Illinois Family Institute, IFI.org. They also have recently created a new entity. It's called Good Soil, Good Seed. We've run around to many places across Southern Illinois and expressed and let people know what the options were for homeschooling, for private schooling. The reality is, public education has to exist because the charter schools there's so much, I guess, poverty across Illinois. Not everyone can afford to stay home and or send their child to a private school. I get that, but we can make public education better. And you can go to Illinois Family Institute. You can go to Good Soil, Good Seed. You can pull up your local school district and see their report card. It's all state facts. It's all the information that they send, and you will be shocked, absolutely shocked. There is hardly a school across Illinois that 30% of the students can read and do math at grade level.
Darren, what's the harm in merit-based education? Right now, we're not going to be able to compete. Our children of today are not going to be able to compete globally. India has more children or child geniuses than we have children in Illinois. The future looks bleak. We're not going to be able to, it's not sustainable from a fiscal perspective. And if you want to join the show, it's 877-711-5611. Call in, ask Darren a question. But the reality is they keep lowering the bar in order to show a success rate. So before you used to have to read at a senior level in order to graduate. Well, that didn't work out then. Okay, junior, sophomore, freshman, and now it's literally at a fourth grade level. How do we come back from this? Our children are being harmed, and it's not sustainable for their futures. And, how do we rebound?
Now, put on your tin hat, because it's the dumbing down of America. It's this Marxist mentality to destroy the greatest nation. Without us, we are what keeps the world, the United States of America, what keeps the world stable. And if you want to destroy that, then you go into our classrooms, you destroy the next generations, and that is exactly what's taking place. That is, there is no other explanation whatsoever other than that. I cannot believe over the last 4 years I was on the education committees as a state rep and as a state senator, and it made me sick to see what was coming across in bills, and many of the bills that, thank goodness, never saw the light of day. But when we consider the ones that did pass and which J.B. Pritzker signed, it's hard for us to fathom. Again, I don't know what these next 3 years are going to do, but parents, run for school board. Start showing up at your school board meetings, at your city council meetings, at your county board meetings. Start showing up at your state rep and your state senator's office, your congressman's office, and ask them what they've been doing. Either brag on them when they do things right and hold them accountable when they fail you. Without the participation of we the people, we lose this constitutional God-given republic.
Well, we have, it's all about civics. We need to be civically engaged, number one, and number two, there's an accountability factor. It's not enough just to drop your child off at a school. You have to know what's going on under that roof. And you talked about Planned Parenthood and the teachers union. Literally in California, they're trying to rent out space in the basement of high schools to do abortions. Are you aware of this?
I am not, but it does not surprise me.
It's outrageous. And we have Mark on the line.
Hey, Mark, what do you hear? What do you say?
Hey, it's Mark Weyermuller, man on the street. It's good to see Darren Bailey on the air. How are you doing, Darren?
I'm doing great. Mark, miss you, buddy.
So I have a quick question, then I'm going to hang up.
Okay.
But I see you're probably going to have this primary for Congress against this Mike Bost. I've asked around, and they say that he's not voted very much with the Freedom Caucus. He's voted for big spending, and I'm not sure who Donald Trump is going to endorse. I'm for Trump 2024. But do you want to comment about the voting record of your opponent? And I'll hang up and hear what you have to say.
Thanks, Mark.
No, thank you. Go to the conservative the conservative scorecards, CPAC, Turning Points, Heritage Foundation, Conservative Review, and they keep scorecards. And it's interesting. If you'll remember back when they were fighting for the speaker position, you'll see my congressman over in Matt Gaetz's face pointing his finger out, yelling at him. A little bit later on C-SPAN, you'll see him go upstairs and chat with my good friend Mary Miller, telling her how frustrated he was that Republicans, she needs to just fall in line and play ball. No more compromise. We need people to stand on values. We need people to stand up and say no a lot more and expose a lot of this junk that's going on in
Darren, they want them playing ball in their game, not in the people's game.
Right.
That's the issue here.
Yep.
Darren, you've met Mr. Trump a couple days ago in Iowa. Was it a few days ago?
I was blessed to meet him. I've met him several times over the last 2 months.
Yes. How did he look? In good spirits? He looks like he's tough and he doesn't care how many indictments come his way.
I'm going to tell you something. It's been 2 years since I first met him, and I was concerned about my first meeting because, the mean tweets and everything else. Am I going to meet someone who's arrogant, who I'm going to be turned off by? I'm going to tell you something. President Donald J. Trump is the most genuine person I've ever met. He loves his country. He loves his family. He loves his wife. He has a passion for this country. There is no doubt about that. So all this nonsense about whatever happened, and we've all got baggage. We've all made mistakes in life. But we've got a president, a man who stood up against all adversity and got things done.
Yeah.
And that's a very rare attribute for anyone. I truly believe he is the only hope. He is the only person that can get this country turned around. Hence, the very reason that all this garbage is being thrown at him at such the time that it is. So I think all this drama is only going to spur the conservative movement to stand up and say we've had enough. So
it's an awakening. He helped people understand, as we're trying to do here, exactly how it works. This is a system that's built that's antithetical to the success of our society. It's just built to profit those that are in position. And you bring up great points. And here's part of the problem, Darren. Currently, right now in Lake County, they have a voted Democrat. She voted. Her name's Mary Cole. She voted in 16 and 22 for Democrats. So, in my view and estimation, if you voted for Democrats in 2022, you are a Democrat. Well, supposedly she was red-pilled. And then when I spoke to her campaign manager and said, was she red-pilled in the last few months? And then I found out she's a Lake Bluff trustee that voted against Dick Uihlein, one of our prolific donors here, one of the few left, and legislated against them using gas-powered leaf blowers. Wow. When they're posturing candidates masquerading as Republicans and the public gets more disincentivized from being at that ballot box, how do we combat that? I'm fighting against it. I put out press releases. I'm fighting the establishment as I run my race. How do we fight and make people more aware of what's actually occurring out there?
Well, we've got to get ourselves educated and informed. Again, that's why I'm here. I started highlighting my state rep who was voting for a tax increase, and thank goodness there were people there to listen. We've got the winning message. The Republican platform has it, but we can't keep watering it down. At some point in time, we've got to test it. We've got to stand on it, and it will win. And until then, we have got to fill our precincts, our Republican precincts up with men and women who fear the Constitution, who believe in the platform, who will stand up, who won't cower down, who will show up at these meetings and say their piece and vote the right way and not be talked into compromise. Again, it's the American way, but we're losing that spirit because we don't want the drama in our lives.
Right,
we're going to lose this if we don't stand up.
We have to fight.
We have a caller. Rosanna, what do you hear? What do you say? Welcome to the show.
Hi, Rosanna.
Hi, thanks. Darren, good luck on your run for Congress. And, I'm a Republican. I will not point a finger at the Democratic Party because we have too much in our own party to clean up. I'm shocked at the minority leader, Tony McCoby, who voted to have non-citizens become police officers, and all the rest of the Republicans who voted for that. So we got a lot of work to do. We don't have time to point fingers.
Thank you for the call, Rosanna.
Thank you. Darren?
I love that. Thank you. We do. But again, we've got to get ourselves educated. That's probably the one thing that this takes up a different portion of my time in life as to reading the news, finding out what's going on, calling these people up, holding them accountable, asking the question why, and then being prepared for the answer. This non-citizens, serving as police officers, you're going to hear that, it can't happen in Illinois, and the nation has to change their law, and we're just working with the Democrats for when that happens. Well, even when that happens, it isn't right if our national government changes this law. No, you don't collaborate on issues like this. It's wrong, and stand up and vote no. And so we need to hold.
Darren, I'm a big fan. We're a big fan. The Revelators are a big fan of Darren Bailey. We wish you luck. Thank you for joining us today, Pat.
Thank you, Darren. Thank you for joining the show.
BaileyforIllinois.com. This went too fast. God bless you.
God bless you.
God
Hope
bless
to have you
you.
back.
Support me. Let's win.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
Take care. And thank you for listening to the Revelators on WCGO with Pat Gibbons and Joe Severino on
Thank you.
1590 AM. Thank you. God bless.
CGO 1590 AM, W240EH 95.9 FM, Evanston, Chicago.